Once upon a time, there were millions of businesses struggling. Every day they wasted time, effort, and money on repetitive tasks that added no value. One day, the Better Automation podcast by Processio came to help them find the way. Because of this, these businesses save time, reduce costs, innovate, and make better decisions. Because of that, these businesses grow, prosper, scale, and use human creativity to change this world. Hello, my name is Aziz, and I'm your host today at Better Automation Podcast by Processio, where I interview the world's top experts and share their very best ideas on how to improve automation in your business processes and life. My guest today is Miguel Valdes Faura. Miguel is a recognized thought leader in the business process management and digital transformation fields, and he is passionate about open source community building. Miguel is a regular speaker at international conferences such as O'Reilly Global Expansion Summit or WebSummit, and he has been featured in major publications such as Forbes, CNN, and Mashable. Miguel received one of the prestigious CEO World Awards in 2014, which is a great thing. How are you today?
I'm really good. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm privileged, I'm excited, I'm honored, and I'm very curious about your perspective, advice, and insights you can share about what do you feel or believe is important about digital transformation today?
I think for me, that's a good question, by the way. For me, that the important thing is we see a lot of companies and organizations that try to make a better alignment between the business strategy that is important for running the day-to-day business and what I call the modernization of IT. So basically, how business people and IT people are going to be working together to find that alignment, and not create additional frustration about how people are working in an organization and delivering innovation. So that's for me the key topic in which we're going to spend more and more time, all the vendors working on process automation.
Thank you. That's really interesting. And if I understood you correctly, there is somehow of a rift or somehow of a big distance between the needs, the thoughts, and the day-to-day experience of people who are creating processes, executing processes, doing them in that way, and the people who deal with the technology, who think from a technical perspective on how to make those happen. And we need alignment where both understand each other, communicate better, and create things that truly make a difference in the day-to-day experience and add real value rather than maybe our buzzwords or are technically like the thing that should be done, but in reality, they either make the experience bloated or slow or something like that. Did I understand right?
Yeah, that's correct. And I think it's also a matter of people collaborating better and more efficient in the organization. And that's particularly now more important with, having people working remote and the workspace that is now becoming a hybrid workspace. So that's even more important, no? To make sure that people at the end are happy working together and delivering more value for customers.
Thank you. What are currently the problems that are not allowing for the full cooperation, especially in a hybrid world, and what to do in order to make it better?
So I think for me that there are different topics there. So first of all is that the tooling, of course, or the software that it's not easy to build software that can be used by different personas or with people with different skills. Second, I think that until recently, the two worlds were not understanding each other, meaning like the business people had potentially different idea. They had a really good overview and understanding of the business, and they wanted to make some changes really fast. And on the other side, it was not easy to then discuss, collaborate, and assure that that with the IT. And the IT guys, of course, they were a little bit scared about leaving some room to the business guys to jump into and work with them in the projects. So I think that that's changing because there is more and more collaboration, because people are now more used, especially the last 2 years, to work together remotely, to use software to improve collaboration. And I think that's a better atmosphere and a better ground now for automation tools, to come to that space and to say, okay, you are really used to discuss together, you are really used to discuss about business issues, and now you want to think stronger about how you can automate your business. So this is how you can do it. No? So it was a matter of, people were not ready, probably maturity, and also technology.
Thank you. I love this. I love your idea of using personas. Usually it's something that marketers or people in business and marketing use it about their niche, segmenting the market, or maybe a little bit communicators when they're creating presentations in order to segment the audience and think who are the personas that we should communicate with. So how can people who are doing digital transformation or managers who are interested in change management use personas in order to make their initiatives successful?
Oh yeah, that's a tough question. Really. I think that it depends of the definition of the persona. First of all, that you think about. Some people define persona and they associate, really they do basically profiling. No, it's like, okay, they try to categorize how different people should fit in one of those personas. That's good, but my point of view is more that. We are all different. So, maybe, I started as a developer. So probably at some time ago, I was fitting into a Java developer persona. And now I'm the CEO of a company. So probably I'm not, don't have those skills anymore. But I'm more one of those persons that feels like persona should be like a combination of different skills. It's not like you are a developer, you are a head of sales. It's more like based on all your experience, maybe today I'm the CEO, but I also still have a strong technical background. So I can be a persona that still has some technical skills to use a product in which this technical skill is required. No? So yes, I think that the persona is important. I think that the persona notion is evolving to think a little bit more about the skills that you can have or you should have to use one particular technology, and from there then you can see about, okay, depending of those skills, should that be the one using that product, should be the one that is just at some point making some synchronization points when the first milestone of the product is executed. So that's what for me is going to be changing. No,
Thank you. If I understood you correctly, and it seems to be is very similar to like business strategy and analyzing the skills and the competitive advantages of a business in terms of what skills do we have, what competitive abilities do we have that other people don't have, where do we fit in the market because of that. And therefore, each person or group of people thinks, what are our skills, what are our strengths, and which skills, those skills, and every moment based on the need, what do they require of us to do? And therefore we become that persona or that useful kind of contributor in a way that is not stagnant or
fixed.
And
maybe to make it also easier to illustrate with a concrete example, when you are developing or involved in an automation project, probably you're going to be using an agile methodology. Probably at some point you're going to define the specification. At some point you're going to be doing some prototyping. At some other point where you're going to start drawing the process, then you're going to start adding some additional semantic or logic, like connecting to other systems. Maybe you can define also which technical skills or requirements you need in each one of those steps. So to then say, okay, depending of how many people in your organization wants to participate, try to see based on your skills how you can participate in each one of those moments. No, so that's just a way to illustrate. No, maybe based on the way you develop projects, the methodology that you are using, and the skills that are required, then you do a mapping between people participating from different departments, the skills that are required, and the technologies depending of the skills that are needed.
Thank you. And I love what you're saying, but I will play the devil's advocate a little bit. There are people who think, okay, you have to design the ultimate or the ideal process, and that's what a business process management or design is all about, and then you fit the skills into it, etc. But many say, and even some systems thinkers found out, they give up on trying to change a system too much because status quo and the homeostasis will be too strong, trying to bring everybody to what exists. They say, look, don't try to design an ideal business process. Find out what are the processes that are already existing. Try to reduce the waste or improve them in a Kaizen way, 1% at a time. And therefore, instead of thinking, yes, let me design the ultimate thing that has no waste in it, what is working right now, and improve that bit by bit, and not rather than trying to create something that will be on top of what already exists, and there will be a fight or a conflict between both. Do you agree with this? Do you feel these are two different and separate perspectives, or it's just theory and the way you spoke about is the correct way?
So I will say it depends. It depends. I mean, on one side, I agree what you were saying about, let's start focusing on an existing pain, to use another word. It's like, okay, we have something existing. Probably you already feel that can be improved. So that for me, a pain. Let's try to see if that pain can bring, if we fix that pain, can bring a lot of value to the organization, whatever it is, reducing cost, augmenting revenue, whatever. So I agree with that. So that's a really pragmatic way to change people's life in a concrete way. However, when you were saying like and do small improvements, then be careful about the technology. You know, of course, I'm running a company that is doing process automation. I'm not running a company that is doing RPA. And sometimes RPA is seen like this technology that can help you to do those minor improvements. And in a lot of situations, that's perfect and that's enough. But in some other situations, you cannot just do small improvements. You need to rethink the process to make this global improvement. So yes to number one, like it's better to start with a use case that already exists. Second, be careful about just selecting the right technology for the right use case. Sometimes the process needs to be rethink. And in that case, you need to use potentially process automation solution, a BPM solution, and you cannot just do small updates or fixes like usually you do with RPA.
Thank you. That's really, really wise. And to ask you even more, since you rephrased to a pain, what seems to be the common pains that companies that come to you for help, whether it's automation, digital transformation, or alignment between IT and business or whatever? What are sticking points, constraints, pains, or needs that seem to be the real drivers or the things they come to you because they need help with?
Yeah, usually, I will say two of them, depending of if we are talking about a specific use case or more globally about the strategy. But so one could be, the number one, it's always visibility. It's like, Miguel, I'm a bank, I'm an insurer, I'm a government agency. I'm missing visibility on what's going on when somebody is making a request and somebody else is validating. So that's the number one. And usually it's like, okay, yeah. And the reason why is because you're using a legacy system and it was done that way, but things are changing, and sometimes you could tell to the customer to wait 1 week, and now you need to provide information and updates every week and every day, and we are not able to do that. So number one is visibility. And number two is maintainability. Usually people has already some system in place. To come back to the previous point, like the majority of the use cases that are now automated with BPM technologies are already use cases for which you already had a service in place or some applications. But some of them are legacy applications. Some of them are not connecting really well with your new applications. Some of them are at the end of 15 years of maintenance, so you are suffering. So those will be the two main pains. No? The first one is more from the business side, and the second one is more from the technical side. So depending on who you're talking with.
Thank you. And I'm curious about you as a person. What's the most fascinating or interesting part for you when it comes to automation, digital transformation? Like, why is it personally something that you have passion for? Because otherwise you wouldn't work so hard, you won't think about it so deeply if it were just a job or an occupation.
That's a good question. Yeah, and especially I've been involved in that market for the last 20 years. So yeah, for me, it's, working with people at the end. So in projects that are changing their life, even if it's a small contribution. And of course, of course, we love work, and I personally like be involved in customer projects in different markets or segments or industries. But my favorites are always working with government agencies. For example, I have in mind a customer in a government agency in Spain that is called SCAM. that they are using process automation to at the end save life. They are doing they're using process automation to improve the way colon cancer can be detected, and so if you are able to detect that sooner than later, you can potentially apply some additional treatment that is gonna improve a lot the chances to recover. So when you are working on those particular use cases, and at the end of the day you say like, okay, I did my small contribution not only to improve ROI or reduce costs, but to save people life. What better feeling than that working or participate or involved in those kind of projects.
Thank you. I love that because stereotypically people will not think that someone so passionate about technology is doing it because he loves people so much. So it's, you symbolize the people, processes, technology, but it's all processes are about people. Technology is to enable and help people, whether as the end result of it or it's the process itself. I want to return to something you mentioned, which is people or companies or corporations or governments' visibility into their processes. What I understood at first is getting like reporting on where there is a constraint, the data, like the percentages, the ROIs of the effort or whatever it is. But is it that? Or is it more understanding what's happening actually, what people are doing? Because I remember this was funny, but a while ago there was in a journal someone who mystery shopped for dental offices, I think, and he called and his company 500 of them to see whether if someone calls who needs something, they, for example, will get their details to email them, to keep in touch, to see whether they will follow the procedure that was the best practice. And he found that 80% of the time, the person who answered the phones did nothing. And then 20% of the time, they will tell the person like, oh, go check on our website. Thank you. Goodbye. And it was only 1% of the time that they took, like it was, I think after that, around 5 or 10%, they took the email, but did nothing with it, never followed up. And it was only 1% that they followed the whole process. So visibility into knowing, well, I have this beautifully designed and drawn out business process, but nobody's following it. So is that the visibility that is happening? Or visibility in terms of knowing, okay, each, like trying to find the what's working in terms of ROI in each part, small segment or part or department or...
Yeah, so it's a mix of different things. I will say like a part of the visibility is, as you were mentioning, the reporting. That is a more traditional way to get at least a first feeling of what's going on. A second part of the visibility is more about are we working in an efficient way? Meaning that, for example, if you are defining a process to manage loans in a bank, is that normal that 50% of the loans are still at the pending for approval state for the last 6 days? While we initially designed that to approve or reject the loans in 2 days. So this kind of information that is usually hard to find if you are not using a process automation solution or you don't have a process defined in really precisely, it's something that I was referring to. And a third category will be everything that is now about making predictions, meaning that based on all the loans that has been requested in that example, maybe you can make some predictions of what's going to happen in new loan requests. So this new category is more about correlating real-time data of the process execution with the historical data. So first category of visibility, reporting. Second category is more about being more efficient thanks to the process execution. And the third category is more about using all the data to make predictions about what's going to happen in the future and anticipate some issues.
I love that. And it makes me think, since so many things happened in this world, whether COVID or any black swan events, when you use historical data in order to predict the future, how do you account for the possibility that the unexpected or the unknown unknowns or whatever it is take part in it? Is it that's the best we can do as human beings, is use the past and extrapolate it into the future? Or is there anything that you think about, since you're someone who's a thought leader in the domain, about how to not get caught off guard?
We were talking just before about the importance of people. there are some situations in which you cannot replace people, and this is one example. I mean, we can do a good job as a vendor about trying to correlate the historical data with real-time data, but it's something that is not in the model, something that is completely unexpected is happening. This is why you also want to have a human just seeing what's going on, getting some information and some predictions from the computer, and you making the final choice. No, you cannot replace human. I know that sometimes is a hot topic when you are doing process automation, and people say like you don't how that relates to humans. Honestly, it's just as you mentioned, a way to improve how people are working in the organization, how they feel better, how they are more efficient, and in those particular use cases, nothing replaces a human.
Thank you. And since we're speaking about the future, where do you see the future of business process, biz ops, automation, and all that? Some people say that actually we're moving into a world where you need to adapt and be so flexible that the benefit of automation and using tools that are not so resistant to change, like human beings will get into habits and all that, is that you can frequently, every week, every day, every month, or whatever it is, totally almost reinvent or evolve the way you do your work, because you'll be better able to be agile and adaptive to the marketplace. Do you feel this is the future? Do you see any technologies that will come and change the way business is done because of automation, AI, I don't know, machine learning, or whatever you think the future will look like?
It's always really hard to make some projections about the future, especially in this market, technology market. But I think there are different topics. One is that I think that we need to what we're probably gonna see is like a new balance between all the new technology now looks like needs to be a no-code technology. And every new company is building no-code software and platforms. But on the other side, there is still like a huge and complex projects that requires developers. And looks like those days we're only talking about the number one. And I think that at the end it's going to be a little bit more balanced, and we're going to see in the future that for some use cases you need no-code technologies, for some other use cases you need low-code technologies, for some other use cases you need more code technology, or a mix between those approaches depending of what you are doing. So I think that's going to evolve, especially based on we're discussing at the beginning. When we're talking about a better alignment between the strategy and the IT, everything is not no code. So I think in terms of the approach, because all that for me are just approaches to the development, I think it's gonna evolve, and we're gonna talk a little bit less about only no code and more about the different ways in which the combinations between. And so that's my number one thought. Then of course, we're seeing more and more the trend of artificial intelligence in terms of the technology space. I'm a automation guy, so of course I see the big opportunity we have ahead in terms of process automation and what some people call automation first. And I'm seeing that even when discussing with people that are creating new companies, a lot of people are creating about automations since the beginning of the company, which was not the case before. So I think that's also a trend that we're going to see more and more. People thinking about automation and how we can be more efficient from day one.
Thank you. I love that. I love efficiency, because there is nothing worse than wasting human lives and hours and potential and all that. And when anything can be automated, it means it doesn't require that magical or spiritual or creative touch that only human beings can do. And to finish, can you speak about Bonitasoft or yourself, or in any way, what do you do, how people can get in touch with you, what services or work they can ask for, and where to find more?
So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bonitasoft, and Bonitasoft is a vendor of BPM technology, so business process management. We are an open source vendor, meaning that the technology is available not only in open source but also for free. So if you want to test our technology, you can go to our website bonitasoft.com. And just click on the big download button, and it's a free edition of the solution. It's open source. You will see that there is a dedicated community also available for free, in which you can get documentation, resources, and even interact with the community through forum. This is part of our DNA. So you are interested potentially in technology, you can do it at your own pace. So you can go there, test the technology, and if you want to move forward, just only in that case, contact us.
Thank you so much. And before we finish, of course, I have to share with everyone the great news about Processio. Processio is the modern low-code, no-code platform for advanced automation and creating an enterprise-grade backend for your software. Any listener or viewer can request a totally free account at processio.app where they get 1 hour of execution time, which is equivalent to 100 human hours, totally free. And those who want to upgrade because they have higher needs, there is a 50% off code you can use, which is better, 50 off, one word, capital letters. You can see more in the description, and I'll make sure to write the Bonitasoft website and your LinkedIn in the description. This was Miguel, my honor, my privilege, a great, great conversation, and thank you for every minute.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was a pleasure, and let's definitely keep in touch. Thank you very much.